Welcome to Mary's Corner. I'm Brother Dan Korn. I'm a Redemptorist missionary of the Denver province. And we have these little meetings together in Mary's Corner to kind of reflect on the place of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the mystery of Christ in the church. How the Blessed Virgin Mary is an example to us, how she is a helper to us, how she can assist us in living the life of Christ in our daily life. When we look at the icon of Mother Perpetual Help, the very first part that we look at is her face. We're drawn to that face, and if we look at that face long enough, we notice that on top of her veil there is an 8-pointed star. Do you see that? I'm sure we have seen it many times, but we don't maybe pay attention to it or say, well, what is that? There are two things that look like stars. I'm talking about the star at the very top of her veil. Is an 8-pointed star. This is a very important symbol and the icon of Mother Perpetual Help, but it's also a very important statement about who Mary is in relation to Christ, to the church, which is us, you see. Now, the scriptures are full of images about stars. First in Genesis, where God creates the stars. And then we have different times throughout the Bible that this idea comes up of evening of stars and so forth. But there's one specific star that is very, very important. And we find that story of a star in the Gospels. Now, we have to think for a moment, we have to go back a little bit and think, what star is an important place in the story of Christmas? We know, right? We know that there was a star that the Magi followed. It's in the Gospel of St. Matthew, where it shows that they see this star announcing this newborn king. And they follow this star. And it says in Matthew's Gospel, they follow the star to the place where they see the child and mother. So this star becomes a sign that points to the place of Christ. It points to the Redeemer of the world. So early in the church, when the church began to write prayers and the church began to celebrate the liturgy, to begin to create music and songs, they began to create certain texts that would speak about this star. And so this star became very important in identifying images of the Blessed Virgin Mary. All icons, again, I told you before, in our different sessions here in Mary's Corner, where we talk about, if you Google icons, you're going to get all kinds of icons coming up on your computer. And if you even go icons of Mary, you're going to get in all kinds of icons of Blessed Virgin Mary. And if you look closely at all those icons, every one of them will have a star on the top of the veil of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now this goes back to the early catacombs. The 2nd century catacombs. You know, the catacombs in Rome were the burial places that the Christians used to fly, to go hide to celebrate the Eucharist, to not be caught by the Romans during the persecution. So they named these different catacombs later on when they were able to worship. It's called the Catacomb of St. Priscilla. It's named after St. Priscilla. And in this catacomb, we have the most earliest images of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And what do you think we have there? We have a faded image. It looks like a woman sitting in a chair with a child on her lap, and above her is this 8-pointed star. The star became the way in which they identified who is this woman sitting here with this child. Just some great Roman woman? Is this burial place here where this fresco is? Was this a very important woman who died and is buried here? But what kind of woman is that? Well, to the early Christians, very early, they begin to have what I like to call Christian graffiti. They had ways of writing things just like they do today. You see railroad cars going by, and you're taken back by they're all painted up with all kinds of graffiti. You go through downtown of abandoned places and there's graffiti. And I hear people tell me that these graffiti things sometimes are great works of art. Well, this is the early Christian idea of graffiti. Only they could read it. In the catacombs, whenever the Christians would see an image of a woman and there was somewhere an 8-pointed star, they knew that was the Blessed Virgin Mary. And it was telling that event of the wise men coming to find the child Jesus, that Mary then becomes this star Mary is this star, like the star was to the Magi. Mary is the star that points the way to Christ.